Hello and welcome to the BackPageLead Vidcast. You'll recognise that I'm not Charlie Happel. He's currently in the UK chasing black caviar around with about half the rest of the Australian media. But as ever, I'm joined with Wayne Carey, who's the expert on all things Australian rules football. How are you, Wayne?
Good, mate. Charlie's chasing black caviar around. Well, it's good to see that someone's actually coming here with some good attire on, because some of those jackets Charlie wears, I tell you what, they went out with ABBA.
I'm looking forward to when they come into the op shop, so I can pick a couple up.
Mate, I reckon that's exactly where he got them, from the op shop, about 50 years ago.
As much as we could rabbit on about Charlie and his purple sweaters and his leather patch jackets, we're here to talk about footy, and this weekend, quite possibly the biggest game of the year so far. We've got Collingwood hosting West Coast. It's 1v3, two of the form sides in the competition. How do you reckon that one will play out?
Yeah, well, I think right now everyone's saying that it could be, well, quite possibly a Collingwood West Coast grand final. Other people are throwing West Coast Hawthorn. When you take into account that West Coast will finish in the top four, so probably get two home finals, that puts them straight into the grand final. Now, most people are saying that'll either be against Collingwood or Hawthorn. So this is a huge game. It's on the MCG. I heard John Worsfold interviewed this week, and he spoke, I think one of the media guys said, you're on the MCG for the first time, that's where you have to win. He said, yeah, you're right, we only have to win there once, so later in the year on the 30th of September. So, but in terms of just a bit of confidence, and I know this is a very good football team, but confidence on the MCG against, possibly their best opponent at this stage, it's a huge psychological advantage, and it's an absolute ripper of a game. Really looking forward to it.
West Coast are unbeaten in 16 at Patterson Stadium, but their record in Victoria isn't as good. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just a case of home ground advantage, or the umpire considerations, or is it something to do with the travel?
Oh, look, there'd be a few people saying that it'd probably be the umpires. They've been getting a few free kicks over at Patterson Stadium. But no, look, they're just a very good team at home. I think they are a good team away. It is very difficult. I mean, West Coast in their history have won 2 premierships. I think to be able to do that and travel to do that, which they have, I think is a remarkable effort. And the reason why sides struggle to play over there is the same fact. They have to travel a long way to go and play. But I don't think that'll bother them this week. I think, Collingwood are a very good team, but for some reason I'm going to tip West Coast. I think they're just travelling very, very nicely. I think they're a quality team. They might push Collingwood's defence, although Collingwood are getting a few players back this week to strengthen their defence, but for some reason I'm just leaning towards West Coast.
I like it. That's a nice tip. With respect to Sydney and Geelong, the other real standout game of the weekend is Melbourne hosting GWS. This, for me, is GWS's first real opportunity to knock off an established AFL club. What kind of chance do you give them?
GWS, I give them a huge chance. I'm actually doing this game for Triple M on Sunday, and I suppose a few weeks ago you'd probably say, "Oh, what a terrible game to be doing," but it's actually got a little bit of spice in it. Obviously, Tom Scully going back to play against his old club. We know that he was a number 1 draft pick, so there'll be a little bit of extra attention given to him. I love the 2 big forwards for GWS. Patton played his first game, number 1 draft pick last year, and obviously Jeremy Cameron, who I think is an absolute star. He's an 18, I think he still is, or 19. He's special. He's a special player. These 2, if they stay at the club, I know they're in contract negotiations now to tie them up for a little bit longer, but if these 2 stay at that club, they will, I think, in probably 3 or 4 years be the best key forward combination in the game. That's how good these 2 are. Jeremy Cameron's obviously had a fantastic year, and I think will probably you can't say that. I think we'll win the NAB Rising Star off the back of last week, and he'll back it up this week. I think they'll beat Melbourne.
What is it specifically about Cameron that you like so much? When we saw Jonathan Patton last week, he had such strong hands in front of his body that it was obvious to see what you'd like about him. What is it about Cameron that excites you?
Oh, look, I love his attack on the footy. He's quick, he's good below his knees, and he makes good decisions. And he's a team player. I think if he sees guys in better positions, he'll give it off. He's highly skilled. He's got it all, and I love his attack on the footy especially. So going to be a big game for Melbourne. Look, Melbourne had a good win a few weeks ago now against Essendon, which was fantastic. Their endeavour has been better over the last couple of weeks. But I just think the way GWS have come close. GWS have pushed some of the best sides in the competition this year. Melbourne haven't been able to do that. So on the back of that consistency and their attack on the footy consistently, I think that they'll beat Melbourne.
2 interstate outside tips. I like it. This is good. This is the third of the multi-bye rounds for this season. Next season we've got 6, double the number. Do you think that's too many? In your day, did you feel like you needed a bye round?
Yeah, look, you listen to what the players say, and they like the bye. And I think, as much as it revolves around the AFL and the fact that we haven't got an even competition and an even amount of rounds, so to speak, I think the players really look forward to having a week off or a couple of weeks off during the year. It's at this time of the year where players really start to get a few niggles. And there's not too many AFL footballers that play from week to week don't have a niggle, but they do start to build. We're about the halfway mark of the year, and I think that they look forward to the bye. So I think it's just more of a scheduling thing for the AFL. Difficult job, like I said. It's an uneven competition because of the draw, so it's difficult. But you would like it where there is some bigger games. Who's to know that Richmond have jumped up this year and been a really good side? What will happen next year? Does St Kilda drop right off, so they're no longer one of the sides that you schedule? So it is a difficult job for them. But in terms of the players, they do look forward to the bye. Yes.
One of the things the bye round does is it gives sides a week off that might be under the gun. One of those is Carlton. What kind of pressure do you think Brett Ratten's under right now?
Oh yeah, I think Brett's always seems to be under pressure, doesn't he? They win 3 or 4 games in a row, and everyone says, well, now he's safe, and then they lose 2, and everyone's calling for his sacking. I think he's probably one guy that cops it a bit harsh. I think he's done a really good job. I think Carlton's best 22 are very, very good. They don't have the depth of a West Coast or a Collingwood. And I put Adelaide in that category too, similar to Carlton. I mean, Adelaide have got a full list to pick from right now, and they are right up the top of the ladder, and deservedly so. But if they get a few key injuries like Carlton have, I think you'd find that they would be struggling in the same manner. But as Carlton get their players back, I think you'll see improvement. But I think a bit harsh on Brett Ratten.
One of the reasons that the pressure is so strong on guys like Brett Ratten is because of the potential availability of guys like Mick Malthouse and Paul Roos. If you put yourself in the role of a club president, how attractive would a guy like Mick Malthouse or Paul Roos be in your position? Look,
they're both very good coaches, and you're right, and I think it's more of a media beat up, but they will certainly, whatever they're not coaching, there's always going to be that innuendo with whatever club's struggling. But you're right, Carlton's a big club. They're they're the silver tail, so they say, and there's always going to be that speculation. Is it fair on Brett Ratten? No. I think Steve Kernahan's definitely a good mate of Brett Ratten's and he's been his biggest supporter. So I don't think they'd do it to him. Does that mean he's safe? No.
Final question for this week. There's been a lot of press about Gary Ablett. He was criticised despite picking up over 50 possessions. He turned in one of the best individual performances of the year last week. In your experience, have you ever known a player so much better than the rest of the team that he's playing alongside?
No, probably not. But that's just that's a new team. Gary Ablett was a premiership player, Brownlow medalist, going to that team, so he's always going to be head and shoulders above all of those young guys. I think what's happened to the Gold Coast is some of the other guys, the Brennans and these fellows, haven't probably performed up to standard. But no, anyone that criticised Gary Ablett a few weeks ago for getting 53 possessions, has got no idea about football. I mean, he was superb, and he backed it up. I mean, 40 odd possessions and then 4 goals against the Kangaroos, nearly got them over the line. He's a super player. One player that I thought wouldn't probably go as well by going to the Gold Coast and not having that support around him. Just goes to show you what a good player he is.
Wayne Carey, thank you very much. Look forward to checking in on your tips come next week.
No worries. Cheers.